Hi, I'm Paul Pugliese with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. We get a lot of questions about vines and trees. One of the more common vines that we see taking over trees is called English ivy. This is actually an invasive species that we see throughout the state of Georgia and the United States. It was introduced as an ornamental plant for ground covers. Unfortunately, it has this really bad tendency to climb up into trees. And as you can see over time, those vines can get quite large. Some of them are 3 or 4 inches in diameter on this particular tree. Over time, that can be stressful to a tree, and it will actually cause competition for the branches. The weight of those branches will start to add up as the vines continue to climb into the canopy of that tree. It also can compete for sunlight with those branches, which can cause that tree to decline over time because it's not able to feed itself if it can't take in light through photosynthesis. Another problem with vines on trees is that it hides potential dangers on that tree. So if I were examining this tree as an arborist, I wouldn't be able to tell if there were any defects or problems or cracks in this tree because it's completely hidden by the vines in this particular case. So that's a big problem, especially if this is a tree that's maybe near your house or an area that could potentially be a liability in that particular case. So again, most of these types of vines are not good to have climbing on trees, regardless of if it's English ivy, wisteria. It could be Japanese honeysuckle climbing a tree. Another one is poison ivy, even though that's not technically an invasive species. It can be a problem in some trees, and some of the poison ivy vines I've seen can get this big as well. If you're not sure what vine you're dealing with, always be careful, maybe wear gloves, because if it is poison ivy, that could be a problem for you if you start to touch it. One big difference between this and poison ivy is poison ivy has very, very fuzzy vines. It's going to have hairs all over the outside of that vine. So that's one that you would want to be extra cautious with and protect yourself when you're working with those vines. So of course, the best thing to do is to get rid of those vines. And the next question is, how do we do that? So one of the ways is to actually cut these vines. And so very simply, if you take pruners and go in here and cut the vine, especially smaller vines, all you have to do is snap it once and everything from there up will die. Of course, anything that's close to the ground, it may actually regrow, even if you cut it close to the ground. So what you might want to do is spray with an herbicide any vines that are close to the ground or growing around that tree as a ground cover if you're trying to kill it. I would use a non-selective herbicide such as glyphosate. That's a very common herbicide you can find at most garden centers and feed and seed stores. The stronger concentrates are a little bit better in this particular situation. And it's one of the few products that you can apply near a tree's roots that won't have any soil activity. And so even with the glyphosate herbicide, I would avoid trying to spray directly on the trunk of the tree because if it's a thin bark tree, it could potentially penetrate that bark and maybe cause some damage to that tree. So again, the first thing would be to cut all the vines around that tree. If you have any that are on the ground that you want to treat, you want to take your herbicide and mix it up according to the label. Of course, anytime we're handling pesticides, we should always wear our gloves. If the label calls for that, that's very important to protect your hands from exposure to any pesticides that you're dealing with. So if you've already mixed it up with your concentrate, make sure again that you read the label on that product. One caution that I'll mention is that some herbicides are combination products out there. And so some of those types of products may say on the label extended control or max control. Those are products that you don't want to spray near the roots of a tree. So always double check the label. And if you're not sure, call your county extension office to make sure that's the right product for this situation. So again, with this particular product, it's just glyphosate. Let's say we cut this vine, we got it as close to the ground as possible. We want to come in here and we'll pump up our sprayer, get ready to spray on here, and we'll cover that vine with that particular herbicide, okay? And we will do that all the way around the tree until we get it under control, okay? The next thing you'll want to do with some of these bigger vines is to cut it with a saw in some cases. So some of these little hand saws that you can fold out in this particular case, you would come in here and cut that off, and once you get that out of there, again, everything from there up will die. And then you'll want to actually use what's called a wipe-on application with your herbicide. So you'll take your herbicide, you'll mix it up in a small cup, and use a disposable paintbrush in this particular case. You can dip your herbicide in that cup and literally just paint it right onto the end of that cut branch or stem in this particular case. And again, if you do a good treatment with that, you can actually kill the vine from the roots down, because this would be a systemic herbicide. And I would do that anywhere, especially on some of the larger vines that are too big to spray, and maybe you don't have any leaves down below that you can make contact with the herbicide. One word of caution, anytime you're using herbicides around trees like this, is to make sure there aren't any root suckers coming out of the tree, because if you spray any leaves on that particular tree, it could again cause damage to that tree. So be very, very careful not to spray the bark of the tree or any suckers or anything that's coming out of that tree as far as leaves, because these herbicides will potentially move inside that tree as well. Again, if you have any questions about controlling vines or any other invasive species in your yard, call your local county extension office at 1-800-ASK-UGA1 or go to our website at ugaextension.com and continue to follow us on the Georgia Farm Monitor.